Okay, welcome to the Complete Personal Trainer podcast. Back here this week. Very exciting news. I'm moving next week to Monday, simply because of scheduling. Nothing fancy, no reason. So today I'm going to be talking about the trouble. Move my mic a bit closer. With testosterone coaching, and this is a thing that's been happening a lot in the industry. And if anyone thinks I'm picking on you, I probably am. But it's not just I'm picking on people. It's not that at all. There's coaching now for so many different conditions that we have, like ADD coaching and lots of different things, estrogen coaching, menopause, PMS, endometriosis, just to name a few. And a lot of people doing this, we need to really start making better recommendations. So I just wanted to go over some of this. Now, when we start talking about manipulating hormones with people, what we need to understand, and this is the main thing I'm going to get across today, the main point that I have, nothing else is, I'm not going to criticize everyone for what they're doing, is when we're looking at hormonal stuff, okay, and hormonal issues, first of all, we need to remember that we're not endocrinologists. We haven't done an obscene amount of study or years at university. And to say that we have the answers for every kind of hormonal approach is extremely disrespectful to the professionals who have put a ton of work in. Now, this doesn't mean we don't know more about hormones than certain other health professionals, but we also need to be aware of scope of practice and a whole bunch of other stuff. But let's not worry about that right now. The main thing that I want to go on about is the fact when we are looking at the hormonal system, if we are looking to coach people in hormone to improve their hormonal health, however we do that, we need to remember that it is not acute. Okay, this is the number one point there. This goes for all the other conditions I mentioned before. A lot of people are selling these programs as, like today, I saw an Instagram post about the breakfast that you can have to optimize testosterone. Far out, man. Here's the thing. It was eggs and a couple of other herbs and shit like that. None of these things have an acute effect in testosterone. And they may provide the raw materials, but there's no particular benefit to having these raw materials at breakfast. As long as the raw materials exist in the diet at a high enough level, you are not going to get an acute effect. Things that do give an acute effect are things like caffeine, stimulants. They will give an acute dietary effect. You will have an acute dietary effect on blood sugar, but your body has built-in regulatory systems and mechanisms to keep blood sugar at a stable level. So what we need to think about and what we need to change our messaging about when we're helping people with conditions that are caused by lifestyle factors is the simple fact that small daily actions aren't going to lead to massive incremental increases in someone's hormonal health, their reproductive health, their chronic fatigue, their depression, their anxiety, or whatever it is. It's not looking at acute fixing a problem. We're not simply relocating a dislocated shoulder. We are trying to change problems that have taken a long time to occur. We're trying to change problems where there is an ingrained hypothalamic circadian rhythm to these, and so meaning that they have highs and lows at certain times. And we also need to look at the fact that we're looking at other systems that may have an acute effect on that particular hormone, which leads to long-term sustained problems. So let's give an example of that. Mobile phones in your pocket, probably not great for sperm health. Doesn't take a genius to work that out. Unfortunately, just the simple act of removing your phone from a pocket is not going to cause an increase in sperm volume or testosterone production or seminal volume or anything like that in any kind of acute sense of format. It needs to be something that's done repeatedly over time. So I've got a bit of a sore throat, so my voice is going all over the place. So we need to look at these types of things. When we can get a lot out of steroid injections for this. So when we take different types of steroids, they have different length esters, and that's how we get the changes. You don't take an anabolic steroid by injection and then get an immediate outcome in the hormonal health. It actually builds up over time gradually. So if we look at this is not condoning steroids as a way to boost testosterone, far from it. It's like we're looking at a behavior when you're injecting steroids, which is injecting the hormone at a very, very high level into the body to then create a chronic increase, to increase muscle protein synthesis, increase fat burning, etc. Injecting a hormone is a really big deal, okay? So I don't understand how people will say, yeah, you inject a hormone like testosterone and androstenedione, it's going to take 14 days for it to leave your system. It's going to take 5 days to peak saturation in your body, 3 to 5 days, it doesn't matter. We don't worry about the exact number. How the fuck having eggs for breakfast, which they're eggs, which we have to go through the digestive process, we need to break down the amino acids, we need to assume that the person has high levels of digestion, they're eating the food in a parasympathetic or relaxed state, where there's quite a few assumptions that we're making there, and we're going to assume that that's going to have any kind of impact on testosterone levels. To me, it seems asinine to even think that that's a possibility. It's, if we look at the contraceptive pill, so another exogenous hormonal introduction to the human system. Okay, how often do we take, well, not we, how often do females have to take the contraceptive pill? Every damn day for it to be effective. And that's in taking a hormone. If you give a male a contraceptive pill, it's not a very good thing. It's going to have some serious effects. It's a pill that tiny. That's how powerful these exogenous hormones are. So by telling our clients, telling our customers in our programs that by having a few small lifestyle changes, we're going to see immediate outcomes in testosterone, you're going to feel better by the end of the week, it's a load of crap. These lifestyle changes need to take a long period of time. And also the other thing is the human body is fairly robust. So if you're telling someone you're going to increase their testosterone without actually knowing what their testosterone levels are, you don't know if your program actually had any success. The flip side of this is then also the bastardization of hormones like estrogen. Now, this is not just testosterone, okay? So in females' health, testosterone is bastardized. It's when females have high levels of testosterone, it's a problem. When insulin is a problem hormone, insulin is bastardized as well because its influences on blood sugar. When really the truth is so much more nuanced than that and so much more complicated, and there's so much more complexity there that we need to understand. Insulin can be a very beneficial hormone. If you're trying to build muscle, having a higher circulating level of insulin will lead to a higher circulating level of nutrients delivered into the muscle tissue and to be used as fuel and for the recovery processes. This is why having a carbohydrate dominant meal is ideal post-training to actually facilitate a high level of blood glucose to drive existing amino acids in the bloodstream into the muscle cells for recovery, and then also newly introduced to the system, so a protein shake or food, drive those protein and amino acids into the system to require to develop a higher level of recovery. In a female, like if they suffer from amenorrhea, so lack of a period, it's very beneficial to check the entire hormonal spectrum, not just estrogen, to see how testosterone levels are, to actually make sure that they're at the optimal level for a female. And when you do this, females can spontaneously regain menstruation. It's very, very quick, like I'm talking 1 to 3 months. So it's not that any hormone is bad. In the male, estrogen is actually cardioprotective. So estrogen is cardioprotective and also has neuroprotective outcomes, which is why, like in bodybuilding now, the use of PCT has dropped dramatically because we're not trying to eliminate estrogen. As drugs go up and testosterone goes up, you want to have a concomitant equal increase in estrogen to an extent to make sure you get the cardioprotective, neuroprotective, and all the other beneficial effects of estrogen. So all these programs and all these coaches, when you're saying it's one thing that's doing this, or we're putting all the focus on one hormone and we're trying to fix this with one simple step, you're really missing the complexity of the picture and you're selling your clients an incomplete lie. Now, doesn't mean they're not going to do better from implementing your lifestyle, your training, your nutrition suggestions. Absolutely not. It doesn't invalidate the actual intervention. The interventions can work. What we need to do is actually not bullshit our clients about the scale of the intervention, the efficacy of the intervention, and the time it takes for the client to actually start noticing a tangible result. If you're saying things like having eggs for breakfast is going to increase your testosterone levels, you need to be very aware that apparently acute, I don't even know how you would measure it, that increase in testosterone is not going to be anything of consequence. It's very funny. This kind of shows like a really interesting cognitive bias, because we all know now that training that has a high level of lactic acid, or basically burns a lot with long rest periods, or doing something like, short rest periods, or doing 400-meter sprints, will release a whole bunch of growth hormone. 200 times more growth hormone than normal, but it's only an acute response. So it's not going to have a long-term response, because if we injected a ton of growth hormone, we'd lose a bunch of body fat, we'd repair it a lot better. But when we do a training session where we do 400-meter sprints, it's an acute spike, which means there's an acute drop. What happens there is we don't get the so-called effects of the workout. And it kind of blows my mind that a long time ago, it was disproven that acute changes in the hormonal responses doesn't really mean anything for anyone, from body composition, a strain, for any other kind of health metric that we're looking at, yet now we're promoting things like eggs for breakfast as a way to do that. So what are my takeaways from today, besides the fact that I've obviously got the shits today? First thing is we want to make sure that our marketing is legit and we're actually not promising things we can't deliver. We also need to look at the efficacy of our, not the efficacy, we need to look at the bulk of our claims, what we're trying to say, and actually, is what we're claiming actually make sense? Do I understand the mechanisms that I'm claiming to coach? And do my claims come up to scrutiny? If you can look at your claims and go with 100% certainty, yes, I'm not promising anything that's not physiological possible, then guess what? You're in a good place to absolutely continue your program. If your programming or your program and your coaching program is claiming to do things that you cannot do, please revisit and put a better marketing message out there. We complain, the personal trainers are horrible people in the ways they claim like, oh, quick things like F45 with their starvation diets and all that kind of stuff. Not to pick on F45, but they did have a low calorie diet. It doesn't lead to sustainable weight loss, so it's not really work. It's an acute thing, blah, blah, blah. By the way, eat eggs for breakfast, you'll have an increased response to testosterone. We don't see how those two things fit together, how they're claiming the exact same thing, they're just doing it via a different mechanism. And because we're saying F45 is bad, obviously hormones are good, we're taking this holier than thou approach. And it doesn't really work like that. So if you're listening, please make sure that if you are doing this, look at your claims, make sure they claim up the scrutiny and that you feel good about it, meaning you feel like you're actually doing the right thing, and make sure that you educate your clients on the fact that it's not acute changes, they don't do anything, it's chronic changes that we need to look at to help our clients get better outcomes. Thanks heaps for listening, guys. I'll see you all next week on Monday.